All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, the best barbecue in the Bay. They're in Marin County, open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can catch them in Emeryville in the Emeryville Public Marketplace, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket chili. It's all magical. But man, I love that brisket chili. Say hi to Damon, say hi to Mary. Tell them that Krug sent you. All right, let's talk a little 49ers. Is the Niner O-line a weakness or a strength? Is it a liability or is it kind of an underrated part of this football team? Well, ESPN's Mike Clay lists the 49er offensive line as the Niners' primary weakness. And I really think it's one of those things where it's easy to kind of say that, but then when you go position for position and you really look at their depth chart on the offensive line, there aren't too many offensive lines in pro football that are better than what the 49ers have right now. Let's go through it. Obviously, the new starter here is Colton McKivitz, right? McKivitz steps in at right tackle. Mike McGlinchey bailed in the offseason, left for Denver in free agency and got paid good money. And in steps Colton McKivitz. McKivitz was drafted in 2020. He's only had 5 NFL career starts. So he hasn't started. He's been kind of the jack of all trades. The thing about McKivitz that I love, and McKivitz is an interesting guy. The 49ers gave him the gold helmet designation in the draft. That's a designation that is reserved only for the creme de la creme. The their favorite draft prospects. And usually it means that not only are you a good football player, but they love your mentality. They love your professionalism. They love you beyond the film. They love the guy. They don't give out the gold helmet designation much. Trey Lance got one. Talanoa Hufanga got one. Braden Willis in this most recent draft got one. Jair Brown in the most recent draft also was a gold helmet designation player. But it's pretty rare. They only give out a few every year. And some years they don't give out any. So when you get that gold helmet designation, they really like not just you as a player, but your makeup and probably your work ethic. And I remember doing a sit down with Trent Williams last year, and Trent was talking about Colton McKivitz, and he's like, "Man, I really admire Colton." I'm like, "Why? Why do you? What makes you admire a player like McKivitz, who was a 5th-round pick, and as we said, only has had 5 career starts?" And he's like, "The moment's never too big for Colton. He doesn't get wowed. And, oh, I'm going up against Aaron Donald. And, oh my God, I'm going up against this guy or that guy." It's not the way he's wired. He's like a good old boy from West Virginia who's tough as hell. He likes to hunt and fish, and he doesn't really care that much about getting too hyped. So he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, very even keel guy. And according to Trent Williams, he has no fear. He doesn't fear anybody. He just kind of keeps it all on a real basic level and does his job. So, one, that's a great attribute for an offensive lineman. You're in the fire, man. You are absolutely in the fire. You give up a sack of the quarterback could get hurt. All of a sudden, everybody's pointing the finger at you. It's not an easy position to play. And you're only as good as your most recent snap. You could be great all day, but if you give up the sack that gets your quarterback killed and knocked out for the year, guess what? You're the GOAT. Nobody's going to care that you graded out highly in the other 65 plays in the game if on play 66 you got the quarterback knocked out for the year. So it is a thankless position. They only really notice you when you're bad. If you're good, they don't notice. A good offensive lineman is one you don't notice. It's like a good official. And Colton McKivitz, the moment doesn't get too big for him. NFC Championship game, they started him against the Rams, played pretty well. The moment doesn't get too big. He doesn't just get nervous and afraid and start to, shrink. No, he will rise to the occasion. So you got McKivitz starting at right tackle. Personally, I think McKivitz is an upgrade from Mike McGlinchey in pass protection. McGlinchey was a really strong run blocker. and McKivitz probably will not be that good of a run blocker. But as a pass protector, I think he's as good or better. Mike had a real problem kicking out against top speed rushers, and it really broke down the rest of his game and killed his overall balance. And McKivitz is quicker out of his stance, and he's quicker at kicking out on speed rushers. He doesn't lose his balance, and it's a passing game. Teams are in their sub package 75% of the snaps. It's much more of a passing sport than it every year. It becomes more passes, less runs. Every year there's more emphasis on throwing the football. So, yeah, do you need an offensive tackle who can run block? Yeah. But you really need an offensive tackle that can pass block. And McKivitz, I think, is going to be an upgrade from McGlinchey as an overall pass blocker. So that's your right tackle. Then let's go to Trent Williams on the left side. He is an elite left tackle. He was the best. He was the highest graded left tackle in the NFL last year, according to about 9 different sources, including Pro Football Focus. So you may have the best in Trent Williams at left tackle. That's how you start your line, left to right. Then you've got Aaron Banks at left guard, and you got Spencer Burford at right guard, and Jake Brendel in the middle. That's the rest of your line. Now, if you look at some of the numbers, Banks and Burford were given below average grades by PFF. The Banks, but if you look closely at what Banks did for the year, he was tremendous. He allowed only 1 sack all year. He allowed 2 quarterback hits all season. And then you look at the Niner offensive line last year. The O-line was the second best in pressure rate allowed in all of the NFL. The Niner O-line last year was ranked 5th in the NFL in Pro Football Focus's pass blocking efficiency measurements for the 2022 season. 5th and 2nd in pressure rate. So, they actually graded out pretty highly. Then this group now also has added John Feliciano, the veteran, former Hurricane. He can play left guard, right guard, or center. Really broad offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman. Gives them a depth piece. And Nick Zakelj, according to John Lynch, had the best offseason of almost any 49er. And Zakel's a great prospect. He's smart. He's tough. Then you got Jalen Moore, who's a year older. They also added Joey Fisher out of Shepherd, who looks like an NFL caliber guard. So, there's reason to believe that they have quality depth. And then we haven't even talked about Jake Brendel, but Jake Brendel was the Pro Bowl alternate at center. In addition to that, Brendel won the Bob McKittrick Award, which is a very, means that he was one of the Niners' best offensive linemen as they look at things. The Niners also have one of the best offensive line coaches in Chris Forster. CFO, they call him. He's a terrific offensive line coach. So this idea that, oh man, the Niner offensive line is bad. Oh my God, they're not going to win this year. It's going to be because of their bad offensive line. Really? Their left tackle's the best in the sport. Their left guard allowed 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits all season. Their center was the Pro Bowl alternate and the winner of the Bob McKittrick Award. Their right guard is Spencer Burford, and all Burford did as a rookie was make 16 starts. And if you watched any of the OTAs, any of the mini camps, Spencer Burford looks like one of the most improved players on the entire roster. This guy's big and strong, and he has dominant traits. So you got 2 young, dominant guards. You got the best left tackle in the game. You got a guy in McKivitz that is really, I think, very solid as a pass protector. And you got a Pro Bowl alternate at center. And this is the weakness of the team. And you've got John Feliciano, Nick Zakelj, Jalen Moore, and Joey Fisher on the bench. And this is the weakness. And Matt Pryor as well, the veteran tackle, is also on this team. Not to mention Jason Poe. They've got some other young players here that are pretty good as well. The Niner offensive line, to say that it's a major liability, a major weakness, that's a stretch, man. That is an absolute stretch. I love those 2 guards. I think Banks and Burford play the guard spots for the next decade. Brendel lacks some power, But you got John Feliciano ready to step in there who can play center in a moment's notice. So you're too deep at center with two starting caliber players. So it's really about, if you think their line's bad, obviously Trent Williams is the best. So what are you saying? That Colton McKivitz is a dog with fleas? Well, guess what? Colton McKivitz can play pretty well. I'll put my money on it. And you know what? There's good quality backups here. Fisher was a dominating player at Shepherd. Now, granted, it's a lower level, but he's not a slouch. Jalen Moore has got legitimate talent. Nick Sikel is big, strong, and tough and nasty. And Feliciano is a proven interior player. That's the bench. You got 5 pretty good starters. You got the best tackle in football, and you got a deep bench and a great coach. And you're going to sit there and tell me that the Niner O-line's their weakness? We all should have such weaknesses. We all should be so lucky. If the Niner offensive line is truly the weakest outfit on the team, they are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, this offensive line is, to malign this offensive line is crazy. Burford, Banks, Brendel, McKivitz, all getting better. Trent Williams, an elite left tackle, maybe the best. One of the great O-line coaches in the sport. Quality depth. Would I like to have one more blue chip tackle? Sure. But you show me a team in the NFL that doesn't have a question at any spot in their offensive line. Eagles just replaced one of their guards. I mean, there's turnover. Nobody has a perfect football team. But this offensive line, to say that it's bad, wrong. And the people that are banking on the Niner O-line being really bad, and that's going to be their downfall, good luck. I think you may wind up adjusting that opinion before the season's over. Anyway, thanks to all of you for supporting the Krug Show. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. Once again, thanks for everybody for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.